All right, so I'm standing here in front of an old beat up motel. I know it's beat up, there's no surprise there, but therein lies the opportunity. You've heard me talk a little bit about the opportunity that I see in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, in the Waves and Salvo area in particular, and that's largely due to what's called the slick over there, which is a phenomenon for kiteboarders, and it makes it a world-class destination. That's just over there in the Sound. But this motel, even though it's beat up, presents an opportunity that I want to research, and we've called in experts, decorators, designers. We sat with civil engineers. I've got surveys done. I've had an inspection done. We have all the data. We're going to sit down and we're going to analyze what the opportunities are. But the main thing is, although it's beat up, we're contemplating renovating it or possibly tearing it down. And the things to consider there are, what's the best use? What's the maximum value to extract from something like this? And it really comes down to the zoning. This is grandfathered. You can't get density like this anymore. So while it's beat up, can we do some renovation, put a little bit of money into it, make it fit for a great Airbnb and a great stay at a reasonable cost and maintain the zoning? Or does it need to be knocked down? And if it is in fact knocked down, can we build this exact thing again? So check out the footage. The goal today is to say, can this thing be open, call it April 1st, 2019, and run through, say, November 1st of 2019? And then what do we need to do? How much does that cost? Does it make sense? And then, or do we just like tear it down now and then not be open?
You'd need management, I would imagine, getting into something like this. You're gonna...
Well, to me, the lens that I look at this is 16 one-bedroom Airbnbs. All these homes, they all have for sale, for rent signs. It's Saturday to Saturday. So Saturdays is a really hard day to have turnover for cleaning teams. But Tuesday, they're twiddling their thumbs. And on Airbnb or motel, we're gonna be no minimum stays. And so we're gonna have turnover on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. And yeah, so to be really direct, I think it's a tear down. One of the things that we're going to try and figure out today with Donna, who's the county planning commissioner, is, you know, do we need to keep that one blue stake or whatever so that it gets grandfathered in on the old zoning, or does that not work in this part of the world? You know, it's worked for me in the Hamptons. I don't know what happens here.
What constitutes grandfather?
Well, that's what we have to find out. But this density we couldn't have again. Right, and so like if we tear it down, we're going to be in the same situation that we're in at the hotel, which is they're going to encourage us to build 2 and 3 bedroom units. They don't define a unit, so a unit can have 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms or 3 bathrooms, and this is our land too. So, you know, there's going to be a cost-benefit analysis that's saying, do we just tear this thing down and take advantage of this? Because we don't need this for the septic, and we could put in an advanced septic system,
which would take up less space.
Right. So the question is there something that we can do, light and minimal, and then whatever investment we put in, like reuse, let's say we buy 32 mattresses or whatever the number is. We'll store them, we'll save them. When we do the renovation, we'll put them back in or something like that. But I'd love to get this thing up and running for next season, assuming it meets code and so on. Don,
got a ramp,
yeah,
so
the seller is in the process. He's redone the first floor decking. He's going to do the second floor decking and handrails. Which was the big thing that the inspector found was the problem. Yeah. But everything else is really just kind of cosmetic and or comfort, like air conditioning.
AC units, paint.
Yeah, the windows, some open, some don't. So here's what I found out. In order to be grandfathered in on the old zoning, we can't do more than 50%.
Oh, the 50% rule.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of the market value. It's valued, right?
He didn't tell me whether it was market value or so like the building or whatever. We'll clarify that.
The 50% rule kicks in for a renovation. You have to stay under 50% of the cost of the valuation of the assessment of the property.
Well, that's like 150,000.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's what
so,
50% rule is.
So here's the deal with that. If we don't do that, then we basically have to conform to today's standards. So when you take a look at the zoning, this is half an acre, 20,000 square feet. So this is 20,000 square feet, it's half an acre. We're allowed 8 units per acre. That is no wetlands. We don't believe there's any wetlands on here. So that translates into 4 units. So if we do anything more than 50% rule, instead of having 18 units, we have 4. So I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy this interior plot of land to put 4 units here at this price point.
Right.
But so in that short little phone call, what I've basically learned is it's going to be really critical that we stay within that 50% rule and make this safe and fun. And
Being used as a suite here, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, the bed.
I mean, it's got potential, right?
It
and
does
like
have
the
potential.
You could do that too. You could actually do one of these as a suite,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple
Just
of them
purely
like
as
this.
a suite rather than a bedroom.
Right. This
Or
one.
1 or 2. I think the one upstairs too. So of those, do you have some sort of Murphy bed pull down or pull out couch on that side? So you could still sleep multiple people. You must be using this.
Some camera right there. Like,
That's what when we walked out like, oh,
yeah, I don't know.
shot, it was working.
Camera that keeps
They-
track of all the
Exactly.
inventory.
The paint and the air conditioner. All right, let's go upstairs because I haven't actually been there. Many people drive down here
Sure.
and still have 0 lodging, you know?
Well, you wouldn't expect there to be 0 lodging in a place where the kiteboarding, as you said, the international competitions are held here.
Right.
And there's like no inventory.
Right. None.
Yeah.
There's 10 single rooms on Airbnb, a total of 10. So I think the answer to your question is I'd like to take a medium to longer term view because I think this is going to really cash flow and be sort of the engine to, if we can, just making numbers up, if we can pull $100,000 of profit out of this and put that towards building on the lot over there and then
Sure.
the next year another 100, right? Like this is the engine. So it has to be decent enough quality that we're not replacing it constantly. I don't really want headaches, right? When I talk about automation, headaches doesn't really work.
No, I mean, it's all
But at the same time, it doesn't have to have really super high-end finishes or be super fancy. In fact, there's something kind of cool about the retro kite surf millennial sort of fun Airbnb, like keyless check-in and just good Wi-Fi. Maybe there's a truck back there that sells fish tacos and another guy's making, protein smoothies and
Yeah,
what else do you need?
You throw a bike rack
Right.
on there so you can pedal a bike down to wherever.
Yeah.
Get some beach cruisers. Some
So
easy stuff.
I think from the contractor's perspective, I think what we're asking him to do is fix the stairs if they need it and the handrails and this decking.
Have to assess the
Yeah, how far,
The windows.
How far is the contractor? Well, how far is your building inspection assessing, and then where does the contractor pick up? Like think about all the things we ran into at Mountain Modern that we kind of had a sense of, but really became clear, like plumbing.
plumbing.
What's
the infrastructure?
What's the infrastructure
Right.
like?
How like
Electrical, how safe, how
how
much
much-
rewiring when you start getting into the walls. That's things that we, the two of us, or at least
Can't
not
know.
me, I'm
Yeah,
not
we
going to be
can't-
able
we
to
can't.
assess on that. But
Contractor would be able to.
He knows, and he's like multi-generation down here. He knows this property. He was like, listen, I mean, I'm not surprised. He said, tear it down. Well, that's great, but I'm not going to rebuild 4 units, so I'm not going to tear it down, right?
Right,
Like
so
that's
then
where my business sense overrides,
It's common sense, right?
right?
so then that's where he needs to tell you then, okay, what then if you're not going to tear it down, he's going to look closer and start getting into walls.
All right, so I hope you found this interesting. Charles did his very best to just walk around and capture it naturally. He was able to get a lot of great footage, but obviously couldn't encapsulate everything that we did because he's one guy and we're just doing it in real time, and at points we were in 3 different places at the same time. But there's a lot of information in there and a lot of questions and a lot of diligence and type of thinking that I'm going through. So if you're trying to figure something out yourself, I hope you found that really helpful and educational. I want to thank Charles and the experts that came here and lent their support and advice and critique. On the next episode, what we're going to do is debrief and go through what our decision-making process was and share with you what we're doing. So please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.